welcome to 2023, everyone. Thank you for joining us for What the Why with Barbara Ann, one of RVN's not so new shows these days. But as we approach our 1-year anniversary, I'm going to continue to call it one of the newish shows until then. And our anniversary is coming up soon. But I digress. If you haven't seen us before, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured things out. Have you ever felt stuck and wanted to get unstuck? Or maybe you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, whether it's in your career, your company, as an executive, or maybe even as a student. One of the things that all of our guests have in common with you is that at some point in their lives, they felt similarly and they decided to do something about it. And today's guest is no exception to that. I'm so excited, like really, really super excited about today's guest. When she appeared the first time, I promised that I definitely wanted to have her back, and here she is kicking off the new year with us. Lisa Hilleren, and she now has additional initials behind her name, MACPD, AINS, and MBTI. Our first ever guest on What the Why, and owner of Lisa Hilleren LLC. She's also a training, communications, and learning development expert. Lisa is one of the most amazing people I have ever met. You can go back and check the first episode if you don't believe me. And again, I don't say that lightly. In addition to her amazing personal journey and substantial experience in corporate training and development, Lisa is an accomplished writer and published author of a genre that she describes, if not actually created, as transformational fiction. In case you have not seen our first ever episode on demand, and again, I encourage you to go back and watch it if you haven't, Lisa's journey of self-discovery began 20 plus years ago when she learned the power of emotional intelligence, something that she has since taught to countless others in professional training roles. Lisa is passionate about sharing the knowledge and tools that help women and others to discover and embrace their authentic selves. And she has served as a transformational coach and mentor to numerous people, including me. Everyone has a story, you've heard me say that before, and Lisa is no exception. She's been on quite the journey, and her most recent pivot was the completion of her Master's of Arts in Communications from Southern New Hampshire University. Since 2018, completing her bachelor's and master's degrees has been a huge part of her life. The magic question now being, what's next? What do you do about the in-between place when you have achieved a goal and now you feel a sense of pressure to immediately move on to the next thing? Because that's what society so often expects of us, so we often put that pressure on ourselves. Lisa added 3 more initials behind her name, but she's also been through some other changes, and she is in that process of contemplating, what do I do now and within what time frame? I'm so happy she's able to join us today to have that conversation. So without further ado, please help me welcome Lisa Hilleren to our show. So, yay.
Thank you.
A round of applause. Me too. So, everybody who watches the show knows that usually the first question I ask is, what did you want to be when you grew up? Followed by, how did you get to where you are today? Mm-hmm. And so, hint, 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 if you haven't figured it out, you can go back and watch the first episode to find out what Lisa wanted to be when she grew up. That said, though, since you've been on, you have had some really significant changes. Yes. So when you were here before, we talked about your book, and you were in a particular role with one company, and you've been through some changes and a graduation. So let's, for those who don't know you, let's catch them up. What have you spent the past almost year doing?
All right, so great. Thank you so much for that intro. I really appreciate it. So for the last year, I've been finishing up my master's degree online at Southern New Hampshire University. I also, in April of this year, I actually obtained a new job, so I switched from one large healthcare company to another, similar role, went back into management before I had kind of stepped back. I believe we talked about it last time.
We talked about why you needed to make that decision for you. And but now things are different, and you
Yes.
were ready
to go back and do management. So it was very, very busy, and even right up, I finished my degree on October 31st. It was actually conferred on December 1st. However, because I finished by the end of the year, I was able to go and walk the stage on November 19th. So after November 19th, all of a sudden, all this busyness that had been going on for the year kind of just stopped. And then on top of it, I had COVID, which laid me low, so it really stopped everything in the background. So when Barbara Ann and I talked about what we would like to cover in this week's episode, what we talked about was, let's talk about the kind of the lull that happens in between, and also how that, taking that time to say, where do I go next in my journey, and making it an informed decision and withstanding the pressure that we feel as human beings that society has placed upon us to immediately embark on the next phase.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, the struggle is real. When I finished grad school, I felt similarly. It was like, oh my gosh, I've been going 100 miles an hour, and all of the sudden, boom, I'm done. And now what do I do? So much so that when I came in, sometimes I would look at my computer and I almost would feel anxious because I was so used to work all day, come home, get on the computer, get your assignments done before midnight, in an accelerated program. So how did you manage initially that shock of, I don't have an assignment due?
And that happened right after, because again, I actually finished the courses on 10/31 and then I walked the stage on 11/19. It was very odd to be done, and then in the evening it's like, what do I do with my time? And I did my usual routine, I did my exercise, but I was kind of like, around the house, kind of like it's like, okay, what do I do? And so I did, I bought a sous vide machine, and I've been learning how to cook with it, so that was kind of filling in my time.
Okay.
But in the meantime, what was going through my head was I needed to start immediately on the next thing, or so I was feeling that pressure, and I really had to step back and say, why am I feeling this pressure? I've gone straight, I've changed jobs, I had major life experiences, we've had, the pandemic, I lost my mom. Why do I have to feel this pressure to leap into something new right away? Why can't I just stand on this plateau, enjoy and reflect on this success, and then, give myself to the first quarter of next year to make an informed decision? But it really took being self-aware and self-management and examining, especially for women. I'm not saying it isn't the same for men, but for women, this constant, you got to climb the next thing, you got to work harder, do harder, try harder, instead of giving yourself a break to go from there.
Yeah, and out of curiosity, you didn't attend your bachelor's degree graduation, but you did make the choice to go and attend your master's. How do you think doing that helped you in terms of this process?
Another great question. I really feel that by not going to my bachelor's, I kind of downplayed it in a bit. And it wasn't that I wasn't proud of that achievement. However, a lot of my courses were transferred, and I only had to do like a year. So when I did my master's degree, I did it from start to finish.
Yeah.
There was no transfers. And to me, by going to the actual graduation made me feel the gravity or the gravitas of the situation, that I did achieve something major. And I was celebrating it and celebrating the effort that I put into it. So for me, it really did make a big difference to go and walk the stage.
And it's such a tremendous accomplishment. And I think back to the conversations that we had before you decided, especially to pursue your master's, about how, I don't really need that. How's that going to help me? So how did you go from, I don't really need that, to master's graduate?
I think doing that was a great question too. Doing the bachelor's, and I had the silliest hang up on it in terms of I thought I would never be able to do the quotes right or the citations right, and that was the excuse I was giving myself. And realizing I could do it, realizing I could put the time in, and I wanted to put the time in, why I decided to go on for master's is I knew that ultimately, as you and I talked in the first episode, I want to slowly transition out of corporate life and into consulting. And that having the MA with my experience would build that. However, I also wanted to make sure I did it without accruing debt. And luckily, both my former job and my current job had tuition reimbursement. So I was able to use that. I was able to actually graduate with 0 debt. So that was huge. So now also, another reason I went for it is I knew if you had a master's, you could be a professor, adjunct professor online. And that would give me an income stream as my husband and I move out of these corporate jobs. He's a little older than I am, into retirement, but I still am going to be working for another 10, 12, 15 years at least.
At least, because
So-
I don't see you as the sit-at-home retired person. Even if it's volunteer work, you're going to be working, doing something.
Yes, and even just laying low for 2 weeks with COVID, I'm like, no, can't handle this.
Yeah,
Couldn't handle
and
it.
it's interesting because, not that COVID itself is a gift, but it sounds like that forced downtime, you were able to find a gift in terms of you had to stop.
Yes, you were forced. There was nothing. The fatigue, the illness, and so, yes, never experienced anything like it, but it was in that respect that it really forced me to slow down.
So here you are, master's degree holder. What was different about, let me reframe that question. How was the experience different than what you thought it would be up front? I mean, you mentioned that your excuse, saboteur, whatever you call it, was fear over the citations, but obviously you overcame that. But Monday morning quarterbacking it, what was different than you expected, or what do you wish you knew while you were going through the process?
Okay, so it was interesting because there was 12 courses and they did a capstone rather than a thesis. So we did a capstone project. I basically blew through the first 10 classes. I did not find them, I found I learned a lot, but it was not as challenging for me as it was for some others because of my years of experience, so I was able to incorporate that in there. It came to the last 2 classes, the class and the capstone, and they were extremely challenging, especially the capstone. And as I was describing a little bit earlier with the capstone, in hindsight, what I would have done differently and what I'm trying to apply to my life now is spend some time, step back, and don't just jump into something. Spend some time going in, researching it, making sure it's the best decision. Like I jumped in and I started doing my capstone only to find out I was doing more of an MBA project instead of a communication project. And I had to step back, reframe it, and it literally, out of a 10-week class, it wasn't till week 5 or 6 till it came together. And part of me had to also rely on the fact that I have always pulled it off. And I was really at week 5 and 6, I was anxietal. And so even if you see somebody and you're like, oh, this person has all these initials, I get anxietal. I'm like, oh, should I drop it and take it again? And I said, no, just trust your process. Trust that you have in the past, and you will again. So a couple of definite key learnings, but it also set me up where I was in this space right now to say, you know, the answers will come. Trust the answers will come.
And it's interesting, another guest that I've had on the show, Jo Colantonio, one of her favorite sayings is, trust the process, trust the process.
Absolutely.
And here you are, and I do want to mention, I didn't include the quote because it was very powerful and personal, but I believe your professor referred to your capstone project as one of the best that he'd ever seen, and that it was perfect, and a whole lot of other incredibly complimentary things about how you put into that. I mean, you gave birth to that capstone.
I did, and it was like, there was a 30-page slide deck that was animated, and then there was like a 40-page notes thing or paper part, and I felt that I really did give it my all, so his feedback was, and I was incredibly grateful and appreciative and humbled by his feedback because it meant a lot to me.
So, I know we're coming up on a break shortly. I guess one question that I think we could probably fit in before the break is, how, if at all, has this changed your mission going forward?
That's a question in progress. I think that I still want to do these things. However, there's also a lot of new opportunities coming up. And I would like to say that's something we always have to consider, is we have a plan, but all of a sudden some new opportunities may come up that we hadn't considered that we want to take into that decision mix. Yeah. So that would definitely be something I want to look at. What are the other new opportunities that are arising? Does that change my priorities at all?
Perfect. So we're going to break for our mid-show commercial break. So please do return afterwards for more of What the Why and today's special guest, Lisa Hilleren. Welcome back to What the Why with Barbara Ann and today's very special guest, the return of our first ever guest, Lisa Hilleren. And before the break, we were just kind of talking about what it's like to, or what you learned really, and some other things. And so now here we are, and we're in this between space, and you're still figuring out what your pivot's going to be. And I guess there's a lot of people out there who are trying to figure out what their pivot's going to be. So what are some things that you're doing to help you through that process?
Great question. I think one of the big things is being gentle with myself and reminding myself that the pressures that I'm feeling to jump to the next thing were something that society taught us, or you saw, especially with girls, and always having to keep busy, always parents wanting them in sports, so there was never a break. And remembering and impressing upon myself the benefits of rest, that rest is not being lazy, rest is not, sometimes when you rest, it's the time you get the best ideas because your mind is clear.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. Also, I did a lot of soul searching and thinking about being on I think of it as kind of a plateau. What way do I want to go up? There's not always just up. You can pivot and go to a lateral place. Are there more classes, or is there more learning that I want to do before I start to pivot? What other are new opportunities that I can seek out as I do this, so I am making informed decisions or not overbooking myself? I'm looking to start out doing some consulting in the spring, and then maybe in the second quarter of next year, exploring going into doing like my first class and stuff. So I'm just like saying, I'm going to eat the bear in bites. I'm not going to try to eat the bear whole. And I've been known to try to eat the bear whole in the past. I'm trying to learn from all of these experience, all of this other learning that was aside from book learning, but experiential learning. And I also thought it was really important, and I was really excited to talk today because I think a lot of what we see is how people, okay, I've climbed the summit, I've got my MA degree. Well, that's wonderful and it's great, but there's also those in-between spaces where we all falter and we all stumble and we're all not sure. It's all part of the journey. So if you're feeling that way, know that all of us go through it too. It's not a, hey, we've gotten here, or it's not that we don't have minutes like in between it, or times or days or weeks that things slow down and we question our why, or we question when the why. When do we follow the why?
Yeah, because you're right. It's not just about what the why, it's also when. There's a timing issue. So many people feel pressure, and you're right. They feel pressure, okay, I got to get the next thing. I got to get the next thing, next thing, next thing, next thing. And they're totally missing the present as well.
Yes.
And they're not stopping to look at the different lessons that inform how they move forward. I mean, and you just went through this huge transformational journey. And there's a lot of people out there that are probably going through something similarly and going, well, now what? And so in terms of somebody who's thinking, I mean, because of course you are also a non-traditional student.
Yes.
So, and you've said there's no such thing as, you know, too old, too young, whatever, and you've proven that. So, you know, for those out there who might be watching, what advice would you give to them in terms of helping them either decide if moving forward with something is good, or in terms of reflecting about whether or not it's the right time?
I would say looking into things, especially for me, one of my key learnings, and we just talked about a minute ago, was look at the cost investment and see, is there going to be a return on investment for me? Even if it's not monetary, maybe it's a personal return on investment. I am actually, my birthday's in April, I'm gonna be 60. And for me, going through and getting my bachelor's and my master's without accruing debt was a major thing. If you're thinking about it, you know, look into what is it gonna cost me versus what am I going to get out of it. And I would even say that for people that are just graduating high school and looking at college, there's many different ways. Perhaps you go in, you get an opening job or an entry-level job at a company that pays tuition reimbursement, and over time get them to pay for your degree and then move up the ranks. Or looking into trade schools, or looking into going to a less expensive community college, and then in your sophomore year transferring to a four-year college. So there's many different ways. I think we all kind of get tunnel vision at some way, that this is the only, I got to go right from high school into college. And there's multiple ways to do things as well. I think the other thing is spending time going, you know, my what the why is helping people, is coaching and mentoring and exploring and saying, what are all, like you're spreading out a deck of cards, you might put a different idea on every one of them and look at them and say, what is really going to speak to me? Where do I feel the impact's going to be? Where do I have the time and energy where I can make that commitment?
And I know a huge part of you in terms of developing people and mentoring people is you really like to expand that.
Yes.
Because right now your scope is kind of limited in terms of you're doing it in a work-specific capacity, but moving into your own thing, because that thing is still evolving, gives you an opportunity to reach out and mentor even more people.
Absolutely.
So as you move forward into a little bit of the unknown, which is actually really exciting.
Yes, it is.
You know, they call it the art of possibility for a reason versus the world of measurement where you're doing things because you want to, you're not doing this to beat other people or prove something. This is for you. But so many other people will benefit because of the choices that you're making going forward. So if you could do anything and money was no object, and you come back next year, where do you think you might be?
I would love, if money were no object, to be able to be doing an adjunct professor, because I can do it. It does it. These are 8-week courses, 10-week courses. They're chunked out. I would also love to volunteer and do mentoring and coaching for underserved areas.
Yeah. Which we've mentioned, which we talk about, because I got one already now.
And to me, because that's so important, it's so important, like we talked about, learning emotional intelligence, because if you don't realize or come to it yourself that this pressure you're putting on yourself comes from societal learning, you're not going to be able to step back from it. And it even for me, and I understand it, you understand it, and it's still uncomfortable as heck for us to go through it and kind of slog through it. Even though you know you need to rest, even though you know all this stuff, there's still that niggling pressure that keeps. But I think especially for underserved areas, love to do that. I also think for younger people.
Yes.
You know, helping them, because this is stuff I didn't learn until my late 30s, early 40s. And man, we could have took on the world in our 20s or teens if we knew this stuff.
Absolutely. And this is the inspiration for those who watch. Normally, Lisa's the inspiration behind when I always say things like it's the situation or event plus your response to it equals the outcome. So this was the inspiration for it. And so, being able to pass that on to a younger generation so they learn it a lot sooner. I mean, imagine the change that could be affected. So of course, now we're going to have back again. I think we'll make this an annual thing as long as the show's on. We're going to have you come back.
Sounds
so
good.
We can talk about where things head.
Where we went.
And where your in-between space led you. So for those, and a quick plug, because she does have a book, Reconstructing Eve, which you can find online. But what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Probably the best way to reach out to me is at my address, lisa.m.hilleren@gmail.com. Please remember to put the middle initial M as in Marie, because believe it or not, there is another Lisa Hilleren in the Midwest, and she has lisa.hilleren. So I'm lisa.m.hilleren@gmail.
Yeah, you can also Google her, and you're on LinkedIn too.
Correct.
I'm
on LinkedIn. That's another way to reach me.
Yeah, so I'm really happy that you got to come back and kick off the new year.
Me too. I'm so excited.
Because 2023 is got to be better than 2022. I'm just putting that out there in the universe.
Yes.
God and universe hear us. So,
yes.
So welcome to 2023. And as we move forward in 2023, please tune in for our upcoming guest lineup. We're actually going to have another guest come back, a little bit more recent, but we're continuing a part 2 of a conversation with Tanur She Writes Ali, founder and residential land steward for iLogic Sustainable Industries LLC, and wearer of many other hats, including poet, mother, facilitator, and chief steward and coordinator of Solomon's Garden. She'll be joining us for part 2, as I mentioned, but joining us for part 1 the following week will be Lynn Ozer. Anybody who's done anything with government lending for small businesses knows Lynn Ozer. She's currently president of Multifunding LLC, but she's also a past president of the National Association of Government Guaranteed Lenders. She is award-winning loan expert and entrepreneurial trainer. And we're also going to be welcoming Belle Walker, who's founder and lead consultant of Bellevue Consulting. She specializes in helping companies optimize their teams and improve their communication. Please believe me when I say you really don't want to miss what any of these amazing women has to say about their journeys. As a reminder, What the Why continues to air this year on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. and Mondays at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And even in 2023 and beyond, whether you're looking to make changes in your life or career, or your company, or your schooling, no matter how big or small, please join us again for more inspirational, informative, and reflective conversations with leaders such as Lisa, who wanted to make changes and overcame whatever fears or obstacles or needs to pause were in their path to find or pivot in their core purpose and live it.